They're going to play an intro. Good evening. Welcome to the Ombudsman program. My name is Diane Welbourn, and I'm the Ombudsman, and I'll be the host for this evening's program. I'm really honored to have with me tonight our Montgomery County Recorder, and her name is Stacey Benson-Taylor, in case you've not had the chance to meet her or get to know her. They have many exciting programs going on at this time. So I wanted to invite her to tell you all a little bit more about herself, about what the Recorder's Office does, and about their new initiatives to keep people's property safe. So we'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, Stacey, for joining me on the program this evening. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome, Diane, and thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes, good. Thank you very much. I'm excited to have you. Tell our viewers, how long have you been serving as our Montgomery County Recorder?
So I have been serving as the Montgomery County Recorder since May of 2023. I became a recorder following our prior recorder, Brandon McLean, and he served for two years of a 4-year term, and he went back to be a magistrate at Dayton Municipal Court, and I served as his chief deputy, and then was appointed as the county recorder.
That's wonderful. So you had quite a bit of on-the-job training for the position that you're holding now. How long have you been with the Recorder's Office
So
before
I
becoming?
came to the recorder's office in 2021.
Okay.
And I've been around county government since 1990, 99. I
Wow.
started at the public defender's office and worked at the public defender's office until 2006. And then I left and went to AFSCME, which is the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, where we represented employees at the city of Dayton and at Montgomery County. And I did that from 2006 to 2021. And then in 2021, I came here to serve as Brandon's chief deputy.
Oh, well, that's a really important and long-serving career. Thank you for your service there in all of the different roles.
Thank you.
Very nice to know about that. Thank you, Stacey. Tell us a little bit about the responsibilities of the Recorder's Office. Tell us what you all do there.
So the Montgomery County Recorder's Office is responsible for the recording and maintaining and protecting of all records in Montgomery County related to property, real estate development, and we are responsible for maintaining those records. So your deeds, your mortgages, any type of liens, anything related to property in Montgomery County would be recorded here. We also are responsible for recording almost 100 other documents. So power of attorneys come here, any type of liens that are maybe state liens or maybe federal liens, mechanics liens, those type of things, affidavits. So we have a wide variety of documents that we are tasked with recording here at the Recorder's Office. We are also responsible for maintaining veterans records. So we maintain, you can record your DD 214 here, as well as we maintain some of the death records for veterans here as well.
Oh, well, thank you for that overview. A lot of times it seems that people may not know what's going on with that paperwork. I mean, it may not come through the individual. It may come from an office or a bank or some other transaction type of business. So who do you all work with probably most frequently?
So we work with your title companies, we
Okay.
work with your real estate agents, your mortgage companies, your credit unions, your banks. A lot of attorneys' offices that prepare paperwork would come to us. And so we work with a lot of different community partners to make sure that your documents come here. We work with our other government agencies as well to make sure that the paperwork is flowing throughout the county the way that it should be. But a lot of our community partners are your banks, your mortgage companies, title companies, real estate agents.
Okay. So you're interacting, I'm sure, on a daily basis with all of those,
Yeah.
as I'm sure your office is very busy. How many what are some of the instances where a private citizen that's not one of the businesses that you just discussed would approach your office for help or for assistance?
So one of the things that Carl Keefe often talks about is the number of cash transactions that we have here in Montgomery County. And so what that means is that the selling of property here in Montgomery County, we have a lot of investors. And so we deal with a lot of smaller companies, maybe LLCs, maybe real estate developers, maybe smaller property management companies, and then individuals who are electing to buy and sell property. So a lot of people who use quick claim deeds, you would have those would be more individuals that come in when they do smaller amounts of transactions, individual one-on-one transactions. Um, People who have gone through probate court and property is involved. Once you go through probate court and you receive a certificate of transfer for property, that certificate of transfer is recorded in our office. Your power of attorney. If you have a power of attorney and you want to have that recorded, that would also come in our office. If your family has a trust, and you may record that in our office in a memorandum of trust. So there are quite a few instances where we deal directly with our community and the citizens of Montgomery County in helping them navigate this system.
Okay, very good. So there's a lot of probably community education that has to go on with some of these. For example, why don't you tell our viewers tonight what is a quick claim deed?
That is one that gets people. It's quit, QUIT, because I hear people say quick,
Yes.
because it is a quick version of a deed. A quick quit claim deed is a deed that does it that transfers the property without any warranty. So a lot of people will have a general warranty deed, and that's saying that the deed is warranted against any type of encumbrances or liens. So you know there's no property taxes on it. You know that there are no liens on it. You know that this is a good clean title to the property. Well, a quit claim deed was created to simplify the process. And so if you and I are, friends or neighbors or family members, and we want to, transfer property, I've decided that I want to give you property, or I'm going to sell you property. We can do a quit claim deed because we know each other, we trust each other, and so we can do that without going through a real estate agent or a title company. And so it was a type of deed that was created to simplify the process.
Okay. All right. Now then, you've mentioned a lot of different types of documents that are handled by your office. How many do you divide the recorder's office into different divisions that handle this work?
So we do have divisions, but we only have one division that handles the recording of documents. And so that's our office here in the county admin building on the fifth floor. And so we are the recording side. And so we handle all of the documents that come in. We have 5 cashiers that are responsible for the intake of those documents. And I believe it was 2021, no, 2021, we recorded about 90,000 documents. In 2022, it was about 80,000. And I think I just looked and we're probably about 70,000 right now. And so that includes, again, a plethora of documents. We record almost 100 documents, different types of documents, but we handle that all right here. So if you need to record something, you come to the fifth floor of the county admin building. Now, we also have in this office our copy center, and that is where you can go get a copy of your deed or a copy of your mortgage or a copy of a record that you need to get. We also have our record center division, and that our record center division is responsible for keeping not just our paper records, but records all the way back to sovereignty for the county as a whole. And so they will have probate records, they'll have public defenders records, they'll have court records, they'll have prosecutors records. And so all of that kind of falls up underneath the umbrella of the recorder's office.
Okay. Oh, yes, that's a lot of stuff. Are the a whole lot of stuff? Are these how many staff do you have to handle all of this documentation?
So at the recorder side of the office, we have 14 staff. And then in the record center staff, we have 18 staff.
Eight. Okay. You have actually kind of a big staff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Uh, Okay, I'm going to come back to this question I've just
Okay.
received. So every mortgage in Montgomery County is recorded in your office.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
and do you keep the actual paperwork, or is it all now put onto PDFs or something like that nature?
So we have two ways to record. And for our citizens and our community members, that is actually walking the document in. And so when they come in, when you come in with a deed or you come in or you know, your bank sends your mortgage over, we record the document, we scan it immediately. And as soon as it comes into our office, we keep it overnight. And the only reason we keep it overnight is to verify that the document has properly uploaded to our system. And so all of our records back to 1980 are electronic. You can go onto the website at mcrecorder.org and find your document. And we send that original document either back to the community member or the lawyer's office or the title company, whoever requested the document be recorded, we return the original back to them. Now, we also have electronic recording. So in some cases, your mortgage company, your bank, the title agency, they don't even bring in the paper anymore. They utilize our electronic recording system. And at the beginning of 2023, we were recording 4 types of documents. We were recording mortgages and assignments of mortgages, and a couple other documents, affidavits, electronically. In May, I expanded that to 100 documents that we now record electronically. Everything that doesn't have to be transferred by the auditor's office, our title companies, our title agencies, and banks, mortgage companies can record those electronically. So we receive paper documents and we also receive electronic documents.
Yes, because so many places are trying to go completely paperless now.
Yes.
And it sounds like that you all would be drowning in paper if you hadn't taken those steps to do that.
Yes.
You'd
And
have to add more office space to keep
yes,
everything in.
yes.
So,
Beginning next year, we will also be increasing our vendors, because we anticipate that eventually we will be also accepting property transfers electronically. The state has said the state legislature has said they want to do that, where you are accepting property transfers electronically. And so I am anticipating adding 3 new additional vendors in January. So that will expand the number of opportunities to record electronically.
Okay. Very good. Always progress, always going forward. Yes. Is it how far back in time, historically, how far back does this recording of documents and deeds go? And could people then have access to that either online or in person for research?
Yes, our documents. I had a record request come in the other day, and they asked for documents from sovereignty to the present. And they weren't far off. Our deeds go back, let's see, online to 1980. All of our documents go back to 1980. But you can find documents back to 1940s. I mean, like, yeah, I think 40s, the 30s, and the 40s. You can find
Okay.
actual documents. Now, some of those are on microfiche. Some of them have been scanned. They're in the deed books. But when you go into our copy center and our records room, um, you can look at actual, the handwritten ledgers. And so when companies do title searches, they can find documents all the way back to 1803.
Excellent. Thank you for that. How can a person verify a beneficiary deed?
So if it you can ask if it's online, you can go to the recorder's website and look up the name and see what the last document that's been recorded is. And so when it says a survivorship deed or a beneficiary deed, you just want to go pull the most recent deed. Um, if it is something that is pre 1980, then you want to contact our copy center. And a lot of our survivorship deeds we found are a lot older deeds. I mean, I was dealing with somebody that purchased their property in 1953. And so we were looking back at their survivorship deed. And when you contact our copy center, they can pull that off of our microfiche and our scanned records.
Okay. All right. So then it really does go back pretty far, both electronically and then also with people coming into your office.
Yes.
Excellent, excellent. And if a property is transferred by using the way you described, uh, a person who contacted the ombudsman's office bought a home from the widow of a man who passed away. And now his children from a previous marriage have emerged, and they say that they have a deed. Now we suggested that person contact you, but maybe you can describe for the viewers what your staff would do to help sort this one out.
So once we are contacted, we would go to the record and pull the most recent deed, because that's what we're going to go by. That's what the auditor's office is going to go by, whatever the most recent document that was recorded. And then if we would check to see if they went if the widow went through probate court. So if there was a certificate of transfer transferring the property to her, or if there were a survivorship deed, we would look at that most recent document. If it had not gone to probate, we would suggest that someone get a lawyer and go to probate. But if it were a survivorship deed and the wife was the one who was entitled to the property because she was on the deed, that would be the ruling document, the most recent document. But if it wasn't a survivorship deed and she did not have the right to that property, then that's where the issue would rise. And so they would either have to, well, they would probably have to go to probate court to prove that the document was sold without her having a right to sell it because it didn't go to probate court. And so then we would suggest that they get an attorney to navigate that process because they may have to file a lawsuit because it's already been sold and now there's a new owner. So they're going to have to go back and quiet title. And so we would suggest that they get an attorney.
Does this type of situation come up very frequently for you all?
So not a lot of family, disputes as far as where the property is supposed to go. A lot of people do you go to probate court and they have the certificate of transfer. What we are seeing now, and I think we're going to dive into it, is the deed fraud. And
Okay.
so, if there's a claim that there was a fraudulent deed, slightly different situation.
Okay, yes, we are going to dive into that because that's one of your new activities. So we will definitely return to that with the fraudulent deed because that's really important. If people want to, uh, we have a lot of older houses in Montgomery County. I've been here quite a while, and I can imagine that people come to your office because they want to research any kind of history about the home that they are in, or maybe that they've inherited from a family member that's been passed down. Please explain to us how your office would assist them.
So we have our copy center, which again is here on the fifth floor of the county admin building. And in our copy center, we have staff that would assist them in either doing by computer, if it is more recent, or going back to the books. And so James will help a person. We can't obviously do the research for someone, but we can definitely show them and take them to the place where their record would be found. And so if it's still a deed book, they can actually go back and see each entry and who transferred the property to who and when it was transferred, and trace it all the way back to when that property was developed.
Wow, it's impressive to think about that. Do you have very many people who are doing research with your documents like that?
A lot of we not as much as we used to. Um, we have a couple, well, we have actually three title companies that are here almost every day,
Okay.
researching and going through those books and verifying the information. A lot of people do it online. Because
Yes.
you can go back to 1980. So when we were able to put those records online and make them available, that eliminated a lot of the traffic that came into the office. But we still do have people coming in, searching on a pretty regular basis.
Oh, that's good. That's good to know, and it's good for viewers to know that they can use your office to find out information that has been recorded previously, as well as current things. It's probably during COVID, it was important to cut down on individual traffic coming into places.
Yes.
But very good.
Some of the office
Go ahead.
closed during COVID. We stayed open during COVID,
Yeah.
and just kind of alternated our staff because we knew people still wanted to come in, and oftentimes research the documents. So we just tried to be mindful during COVID.
Yes, because the recording process has to go on.
Yes,
It can't, it's not one of those things that you can just shut it down for a month and then catch up later on.
right.
It would be pretty overwhelming, I'm sure.
Yes,
Um, and
most
then,
of the documents are time sensitive.
yes.
You have a closing that's happening, or you have a transaction that is taking place, and someone may be getting ready to start work. Say it's a fixture, a document where they're getting ready to start work or something like that. So most of our documents are time sensitive.
Okay, I'm sure they are. How can a deed, this is another question that we receive in the office, that how can a deed be transferred to children in the most simple and direct manner?
Transfer. So we've had it done a few ways that we've seen, and usually that involves the quick claim deed.
Uh-huh.
Um, if you want your children on the deed right now, that's you would do a new deed, a quick claim deed. So it could be you transferring half of your interest to your child, or you doing a new deed that is a joint with right survivorship. But what that does is that puts your child's name on the property right now. So you both own it. What we are actually rolling out a program early next year, a transfer on death program. So what is called a good deeds program. And so a transfer on death is a document that the homeowner does that says, upon my death, I want my property to go to my child. And so you do that form. It's $34 to record in our office. And then when something happens to the homeowner, and it doesn't have to be your child, it can be your siblings, it can be your grandchildren. But when that person passes, the family member then comes in with an affidavit of survivorship and says that this person has a transfer on death filed on this date regarding that particular property, and I am that heir. That is also recorded in our office for $34. And so what I've seen is that a lot of the vacant properties in our community are properties that never went through probate court. And when I looked at that, I said, how can we help families? Everybody can't afford to go to probate court. A lot of people don't do estate planning. They don't think about a will. They don't think about those documents. And so I'm rolling out the Good Deeds program next year, so that we can start taking this transfer on death to the community and helping people get their estates in order and be able to bypass probate court. And that's the big thing about that. If a person has a house and a car, well, both of those things can be transferred without going to probate court. And so if we can help people with that service, then I think it really is a game changer for estate planning and for vacant houses in our community. So we'll be rolling that out next year, that transfer on death, that Good Deeds program.
That's really very important. And I know that people will be excited and pleased to have that because, as you mentioned, courts can be very intimidating. There's a certain language that's spoken there that a lot of the average people don't know, and so it's good to be able to develop methods like that that help people simply make their wishes known and let this happen. Before we get into the fraud alert, talk to us a little bit about what the recorder's office can do for veterans. You mentioned in the beginning when we were listing a long list, you mentioned that that assistance was there to record documents.
Yes, one of our responsibilities is the recording of the Veterans DD 214. And I go out and I speak to a lot of veterans organizations, and I encourage veterans to record their DD 214s because they can come down and get a copy of it. Something happens to them, their relatives can come down and get a copy of it. It's you know exactly where it is. And so if something were to happen to the veteran, he misplaces it, it's on record here. And then when we give them a copy, a certified copy is the same as the original. And so they always make sure they know exactly where it is when it's here. We also have been tasked by the state legislature to be one of the providers for official veterans IDs. And so we're excited that we can provide that ID for veterans at no cost, and it helps access their benefits. So, if anywhere a veteran needs to go and show an ID to show that they're a veteran, the veterans ID card that we have here is state approved, state provided veterans ID card. The one caveat to that, the one exclusion for that right now is for voting. And in 2022, the state legislature determined that you could not use a veteran's ID for voting. It had to be the one that came from the VA, which is a federal ID. There's still discussion. We have raised our issues and concerns, and when Recorder McLean was here, we actually sent out letters to veterans letting them know. But we still provide the ID. It's still a huge resource, access to resources, and that's what it is for us. Is trying to make sure that our veterans have access to all of the resources. We have a list of veterans benefits that we have in the office. So it might be restaurants, it might be discounts, different things like that 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 are available to veterans, and we try to update that list regularly. And then we're also getting ready at the beginning of the year when I go out to speak to veterans organizations. I will be able to do that veterans ID card on site. It was really important to me when as I started to go out and speak with veterans and meet with veterans. Some people aren't able to get downtown. Some people, that meeting that they made it to might be their outing for the month. And so I wanted to be able to provide that service and take that service to the community. And so when I start going out next month, this is December, next month, I will be providing that service on site for veterans.
Oh, that's really very important. It just eliminates an extra step altogether, doesn't
Yes,
it? Yeah.
yes.
Do you have any sense for how many veterans IDs your office may have issued in this year, this calendar year?
Well, in this calendar year, I say we probably have done probably between 30 and 50 in this calendar year.
That's quite a big assistance to people because it does open other doors for them and open
Yes,
avenues for them to have access to benefits that it's harder to go to a federal
yes.
agency to get the ID from them. Okay, let's now turn to your new initiative, which was announced this week about the Fraud Alert Network. If you'd just like to let the viewers know what you've started, and then we'll ask some questions about why this is needed.
Okay. So in 2018, Recorder McLean is actually the one who rolled out the fraud alert notification system. And so the system is designed, and back in 2018, there was an increase. We started to see an influx of fraudulent deeds coming in. And so he was one of the counties that decided to roll out this program. And so what it does is a homeowner registers their properties. And so it can be a homeowner, it can be a landlord, it can be an investor, but they register their properties. And once your property is registered, anytime there is a transaction that occurs on that property, you receive notice from our office. And so if you refinance your mortgage, you'll get a letter from me or an email from me saying there was a transaction, and you say, oh, I refinanced my mortgage. If you receive a letter from me and you didn't do anything, then it notifies you, it triggers something so that you'll call. And then when you check, you find out that there's been a fraudulent deed placed on your home. And so, the state legislature requires the auditor's office and my office to take paperwork that meets certain criteria. And so if it has the seller's name, if it has the buyer's name, if it has the legal description, the partial ID, and the seller's signature that has been properly notarized, we are required to take those deeds. The FAN allows us to catch that as soon as possible. And so while we're not in a position to stop this, meaning we're not in a position to refuse the deed, I wanted to be as proactive as possible in trying to notify a homeowner that something has occurred.
Okay. So when a person receives one of these letters from you, it's it's not going to say exactly what happened. It's just going to say that there was some activity, and then
Yes.
the person needs to, if they haven't done anything, then they need to that they are aware of that would have caused a change. They need to contact your office to sort that out, right?
Yes, right. It
Okay.
says that there's that our fraud alert notification system has identified a transaction that has occurred on your property, and it gives the address and it gives the document number, so that when you call in, you can give us a document number and we can go directly to the document and tell you what it is.
Okay. All right. Well, how does a homeowner register for the deed, the fan, I believe you called
Yes,
it.
the fan system. So
Fraud alert network system. Yes.
so you can register by going to mcrecorder.org and signing up online, or you can come into our office and sign up in person.
Okay.
And so when you sign up, it's a really simple form. You give your name, you give your address, the property address, your phone number. You tell us whether you want an emailed notification or regular mail, and you can have both. I have a lot of people that want it both ways. And then you also give us a passphrase, a password, so that if you need to call in to make a change or something, or log in to make a change, your password protected. And so recently, because of the increase in deed fraud, now when you register, you will get a window decal for your house to go on your window that says this home is protected by the fraud alert notification system, so that we start, because a lot of this happens because people are watching homes. And so we want to put them on notice that this home is one that you should mess with.
Okay. Yes. Good. Thank you. All righty. I'm sorry about the phone ringing. Can't control the incoming like that. Are we seeing increases in this deed fraud that, of course, led to the FAN fraud alert network? Are we seeing particular areas where this is happening more frequently than other parts of our community?
So we are seeing more inner city properties, um, in the city of Dayton properties. And I think that's because we have a lot more vacant properties. We have a lot more rental properties in those areas. And so it does vary, but that would be the higher concentration, would be the city of Dayton. Um, but it does, we see Trotwood, we see Huber Heights, we see Centerville. So we see property even in our rural areas. We see properties that have been taken, farmland. I have someone now who's has an issue with farmland, and the person he bought the farmland from was deceased when she allegedly bought the farmland. So we're
Oh,
out, two fraudulent deeds out, and we have no idea who could have sold that property. And so he wants to sell it, but at this point, no, everybody says there's an issue with title. And so that's a struggle. So I would say, yes, you see more in the city of Dayton because you have more properties that are investment properties, rental properties, vacant properties. But that is just one aspect of it. I do see properties that people live in that have been taken. And we see properties in other areas. So somebody, a snowbirder, if you are a snowbirder and you go away for the winter, your property is susceptible, because what they do is they watch. I had a gentleman tell a homeowner he actually got caught stealing the property. He told the family that it had been vacant for 5 years. We didn't think you wanted it. And so they're watching to see the activity. If you are putting your home up for sale and you've already moved to your new home, your property is susceptible, whether it's in the suburbs or whether it's in the city of Dayton. If you are a landlord and you are between tenants, your property is more susceptible because it's vacant at the time.
Okay, so vacant property is a target there. What
Yes.
about for our viewers? If something suspicious about their property is taking place, what are some of the signs that they should look for, or what would they need to know?
So I think the first thing is absolutely signing up for the fan system
Okay.
and getting that notice. I saw the LifeLock commercial the other morning when I woke up. And you know that something is serious when you start to see someone selling services about it. And so, I think even if you're in your home, you have to be mindful that this is a scam. This is a scam. And so, just like any other scam, they are looking at targeting. So, if you've been in your home for a long time and there hasn't been any transactions, you paid your house off in 1970 something, and you're feeling real comfortable,
Yeah.
a scammer looks at that and says, these people aren't paying attention. These people haven't had any transactions. Maybe they're deceased. Maybe they're older. You're a target.
Yes.
If you're so it varies, and so you just have to be diligent. And the first way to be diligent is to sign yourself up. Another way to be diligent is when you are the buyer and you're looking to purchase, and even the seller, make sure that you know who the other party is. Make sure that you are double and triple checking the notaries that the seller is using. If you're the seller, you make sure that your notary is a good seller. Is a good notary. Because another part of this is you apparently can buy a notary stamp off of Amazon. You don't have to send in your credentials. So in the past 2 months, I have seen 8 deeds where the notary was not a notary.
And how does one find that out? How do you find that out?
I go to everybody can go to the Secretary of State website, the Ohio Secretary of State, and there is a tab that says notaries. And you can search the notary's name. You can put it in the box, search their first and last name, and it will tell you whether their notary is valid and when it expires.
Okay. And if the person's not on that list, then that means there's probably fraud going on.
Yes, you do not want to use them if they're
Okay.
not on that list. Because one of the things that I am in the process of trying to make a good argument for is that if your notary isn't a valid notary, if their credentials aren't valid, then that document isn't properly executed. So I have posed the question as to whether I have the ability to reject those deeds because that isn't properly executing a document. I'm waiting on an opinion for that. If I, well, my goal is to be able to reject those going into 2024.
Okay.
But I want to make sure that I'm within, within, my guidelines and what I have the abilities to do. But I believe that that is a big issue. And so if I can reject those, as it stands right now in my office, though, I have instructed my cashiers to tell anyone who comes across, number one, I'm keeping a list of these notaries. And I notify my cashiers anytime I add someone to that list. And so they have been instructed that if someone comes into the office trying to record a document with any one of these notaries that are questionable, that we tell the person there is an issue with your notary, their credentials are not valid, and this will impact your title and your ability to sell in the future. And so we are trying to put people on notice so that they don't just get left with property. And I will say that this is an issue for the homeowners who are being scammed. This is an issue for people who want to buy and invest in our communities because people are scamming them. And so I'm trying to figure out how I help everybody in this situation to make sure that their property is protected.
Okay. And when you go when your cashiers receive a document that they're checking on the Secretary of State's site to make sure that notary is valid and is really holds power of notary. Good, good. And,
Yes, yes.
okay, and then all right. I was going to ask, one of the calls that comes to our office frequently, and you probably get it too, is that people are calling wanting to buy houses.
Yes.
We get calls where people say, well, we want to talk to you about buying your house.
Mm-hmm.
And they may say things that are clearly show that they don't know anything about the house. They may say, "Oh, you have such beautiful property," or something like that, and the person is just kind of going, "Huh?" But they call to find out is this a possible trigger of a deed fraud uh, trying to happen?
I would say, and I people come in here and they bring those cards and they get a lot of information, cards in the mail and calls, and some of those companies may be legitimately operating and trying to buy property and invest in our community. Some of them may be fraudulent, and so I would tell people to err on the side of caution. Um, if someone is offering to take the property off of your hands, it is likely they're not going to give you what it's worth.
Right.
Um, so you want to investigate that company if you're interested in selling. You want to make sure if they are an LLC that they are registered with the Secretary of State. Also look them up on that same website. You want to make sure that you have checked the value of your property. You want a you want to do the transaction with a title company and a real estate agent so that it may cost a little money, but you make sure that you're dealing with someone that is reputable and not trying to somehow scam you and steal your property.
It sounds like this has is becoming more and more prevalent. Are we, excuse me, specific targets in Montgomery County?
I don't know. The research I've seen says that this is a nationwide problem, and that it's on the rise across the country. I believe that because Montgomery County is such a good market for investors, that it kind of opens up the doors. Carl said that one of the things Carl Keefe said is that Montgomery County is probably one of the top counties in the country for cash transactions. And
Okay.
so when you have investors buying properties like this, it opens up the door for fraudulent activity and deed fraud because the money is changing hands. And so, we have to just be diligent in looking at how we are processing this and trying to protect properties and make sure that when you get ready to go sell your property, it's not already sold or it's not already gone. And so I wouldn't say we were per se a target. I'd say we are probably a good market, um,
Okay.
where people have said, "Oh, I can make money." And when you have vacant properties or you have properties where there's a lot of investors and they're rehabbing properties, that your properties are going to be vacant and people are moving in and out, and so that does open up, I think, a window.
Okay. And that was going to be one other question about how does this impact tenants? And it sounds like only that they could be stuck in a property that is not really owned by the landlord they thought they had.
Yes, I actually spoke with a gentleman. who, and this is one thing to think about when you're in your home. Pay attention to your tax bills. Make sure you're receiving them. Because I have seen a situation where it was literally the person was in the home. The person had an apartment building. He was collecting rent and paying taxes, and the property was stolen and sold between tax bills. So the only reason he knew is he didn't receive a tax bill, and he found out the property wasn't in his name. And so the tenants had no idea because they were still paying the same person, because the thief was not worried about the rent. They were worried about the big payday. So, he's like, the transaction happened so fast. It wasn't even 6 weeks. The property was stolen, fraudulent deed recorded, and less than a month later, or 6 weeks later, it was sold to somebody else for, and so they weren't worried about collecting the rent. It was
Right.
just a quick flip for them. Now, the
Right.
person who bought it is going to, ultimately start coming around to what they think is their property, and it's not their property.
Right, exactly. They don't know if it is anymore or not. Okay.
Exactly.
How else, other than our program tonight, how else do you plan to get the word out about this activity and the protections that your office is providing?
So, as you stated, Monday we did a press conference rolling this out. There are billboards with my phone number on there to call the office and get registered and the website. Um, but I'm also going out into the community. I'm going to your Rotary clubs. I'm going to your Optimist clubs. I'm going to your neighborhood association meetings. I'm coming to your churches. I'm willing to go wherever people meet.
Okay.
And if not me, if there's two meetings in one night, it'll be me one place and someone from my staff another place. We want to get directly in the community and make sure that we are signing people up. And make sure that we are helping people look for the signs, watch your neighbor's property. Once someone comes into a neighborhood and they target a house, they're usually looking for other houses. So if you know that your neighbor has passed away and their children or grandchildren live out of state, watch that property, get their contact information. Make sure that you're connected to people and paying attention to who's in and out of your neighborhood. If if you see somebody working on a house across the street and you haven't seen the family members there, contact the family members and ask them, did they sell their property? Because I had a lady come in, these people were about to put a roof on her aunt's house that they supposedly bought this year, except for the aunt has been passed for several years. And so pay attention to what you see.
Yeah, that's very good advice, and I'm glad you're getting out in the community to spread the word about this so that people will know how to protect themselves, their neighbors, and their property. We're almost out of time here, but I wanted to give you the opportunity for any closing remarks, maybe something I didn't ask you about that you definitely want to tell people. And please give your phone number before we end.
Okay. So I think you did a fabulous job, and I thank you for this opportunity to be on here.
Thank you.
My goal is to always connect with the community and make sure that they have the resources they need at their fingertips. This is a problem that I'm putting. I want to put the people who are stealing properties on notice that we're watching. I want in our investors and people who want to invest in our community to know the steps that we need to take to protect the property. And I want our property owners to know that we are doing everything that we can. And so I work with the prosecutor's office to address these things. I refer cases to the prosecutor's office when I receive them so that we can try and figure out who's stealing properties. And so I'm working proactively to protect your property. And so encourage everyone you know to call my office at 225-4275, or go to mcrecorder.org to sign up for our fraud alert notification system to make sure that all of our properties in Montgomery County are protected.
Thank you. That's just wonderful, good advice for people. So I'm hoping that the viewers tonight, if you have any questions, will follow up with our recorder, Stacey Benson-Taylor. Or if you didn't get the number down or you lose it, you can always contact the Ombudsman's office or contact the recorder's office directly. A lot is available that can help you online, and our recorder and her staff are standing by to help you out with these things. So thank you very much to our recorder, and thanks to the viewers for watching.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.